Alright, fellas. I'm so excited for the next Dean of Doom! It's been a while since we had a shorter episode. I think the last time was like... Oh my god, it had to have been like No Rest for the Living, right? That was a short episode. I guess Augur Zenith was kind of short. I don't really remember stuff too good. So two things. Number one, obviously the usual, Mount Payne has given me consent to make this video. If you've not seen the original, please turn this off. Go give the man your first view. Go give him your first 10 views. And then come back here, and we will watch this together. Second, this reaction video will be slightly different, because I, as most humans do, am fucking starving. So in the middle of this, I'll be eating very spicy chicken wings. They're, dry Cajun. So, if you hear me dying over here, that's why. I'm gonna try to chew quietly. So, let's begin. Scythe X. Let me actually... Hold on, let me set myself up properly. Ooh, hello. Let me fix that. Okay. Or not, alright. Let me give myself a little eating station here. Oh, yes. I've not eaten today. And it's currently, 10:46 p.m. Who's DMing me? Ah. Okay. Let's begin! Come here, my chicken wings.
Hello there. I'm Mount Payne 27, and this is Dean of Doom, the show where we give grades to classic and contemporary Doom wads. Why? Because ranking things is fun.
Yeah.
Today's episode will be dedicated to Scythe X, the first two episodes of Eric Alm's unfinished swan song, released in 2009. At the time, nobody knew this would be Alm's farewell to the community, but by Doom's 25th anniversary, the hint was taken. Scythe X's inclusion in Doom World's 25 Missed CAC Awards effectively shelved the expectation that it would be finished. But you never know. John Romero, Dario Casali, and Insane Gazebo returned to Doom after prolonged hiatuses, and if I know one truism about this game, it's that you can leave Doom, but Doom never really leaves you. Scythe X was shaping up to be a more collaborative effort than usual. It's unique in the series for having an original soundtrack, courtesy of Paul Corfiatis, Bloodskull, Stewboy, Nick Sott, and Jared Boyce. The title and intermission screens are made by a little-known Doomer by the name of Jimmy91, who went on to become That Jimmy. Long story short, Scythe X is draped in community history, and its reputation precedes it. So let's see what you make of these 10 short maps. Before we start, here's how the show works. Every map gets one grade for quality and one for difficulty. Quality grades go from A to F. Grade A levels are fun, memorable, visually distinctive, creative, and a fair challenge. We grade difficulty from X to E. X for extreme, E for easy, A through D in between. Keep in mind, my idea of a great map is probably not the same as yours, but that's okay. Disagreeing is part of the fun, after all. At the end of the day, this show is about spreading the joy of Doom. So let's do so. Before we start, the rules are we play on ultra-violence and must pistol start each level. I need to play the WAD twice before reviewing it. Saves are allowed, and we go for 100% kills in all levels, making exceptions when it's just not worth it.
You know what this reminds me of? This intro. It's like a syllabus. It's like a syllabus for the Dean of Doom. Just want to show that.
I play on Z-Doom, and today's compatibility is limit removing. Now, to the WAD. Map 1, Service Entrance. Crisp, polished, and minimalist, Service Entrance might be the easiest opener in the Scythe series, scaring up just 2 shotgunners to complement the Imp and Zombie Man security force. There are 2 medikits in the exit room, but before that, you only get 2 stim packs to patch up, so don't play brain dead. Interacting with computer panels is a good idea in Scythe X, as they often lead to goodies. I hope you like space stations, because Alm sticks with this aesthetic for all 10 maps, avoiding big thematic transitions. Trivial as it is to beat, Service Station gets you limber, and it's tastefully put together. Grade B, difficulty E. Map 2, Garbage Disposal. Scythe X's first half takes a monk-like approach to monster placement, subsisting almost entirely on imps, pinkies, and zombies. It's as if Alm was training himself to craft fights around spaces rather than monster varieties. Case in point, this trash chute sandwiches you between pinkies and imps in a pancake maker the first time you visit it, and disguises this sneaky sniping chain gunner on second pass. Eric gets a lot of mileage out of these crushers. They're a hazard, they emit ambient noise that covers the chain gunner, and they provide cover from his attacks. Garbage Disposal isn't too challenging, but it's highly efficient, snappy, and visually interesting. Grade B, difficulty D-. Map 3, Training Center. The comfiest stage yet, Training Center is handsome and gorgeously lit, nailing its science fiction setting down to this futuristic seminar room, hatches partially ajar, and homey sleeping quarters. In addition to being one of the most elegant and understated room-over-room hacks you'll see in the 20-aughts, this air duct contains a useful secret mega armor. Once you knock out the
I'll say, so far, it doesn't look like a Scythe WAD. I do know that this came out, like, a long time ago. Like I said, it's unfinished. I mean, Scythe 1 had, like, a Doom 1 aura around it. And Scythe 2 kind of had... Scythe 2 did have its own feel. I'm saying this. I haven't played Scythe 2 at the time of saying this. But I've watched the Dean of Doom episode a few times, and even that looks like it has its own earthly aura. This feels entirely different, especially considering there hasn't really been, like, a space station part of Scythe yet, you know? So it feels kind of off. Not necessarily bad, but just, like, off a bit. I guess we'll see.
Sniping chain gunner in the guard tower outside, training center becomes putty in your hands. The rocket launcher is overkill against such puny opposition, and you'll find a chain gun not long after you break in, which will have the zombos waving the white flag. You might be thinking, when's Scythe X gonna start, exactly? Dear player, it already has. Grade, B+, difficulty, D-.
So, it's, I guess after the rampage of Scythe 1 and 2, especially Scythe 2, probably just taking it easy on you this time. Ooh. Also, every single time you zoom in on Doom Guy's face, always gonna be funny to me.
Map 4, Air Cleansing. Another microdose of Eric Alm, the classy, compact, and rigorously calibrated air cleansing plays more like a dance recital than a shoot-'em-up. These encounters are like liquid nitrogen. Fluid, but frigid. There's no room for ad-lib here and little need for imagination. It feels like missing notes in a rhythm game, whiffing on these barrels that you're clearly meant to use on foes. Once again, I applaud Eric's unintrusive trick bridge work and his visual acumen in general. Since there's not much else to say about air cleansing specifically, I'm gonna digress on Scythe X's music for a moment.
Oh, hey!
Scythe 1's soundtrack was 2/3 iWad mixtape, but Eric made some inspired picks in its sequel. I think if Scythe 2 had farmed out its MIDI work to community composers of its day, it wouldn't be as good. I feel similarly about Scythe X. Only one of its tunes stuck in my long-term memory, and it doesn't help that Paul Corfiatis' contributions, which are in the plurality, strike me as repetitive and rather lifeless.
That tends to be what you thought of a lot of P-Corf's music in 2002, if I remember right, when I asked you about it. Scythe 2 had a fantastic lineup of music. I mean, I'm biased because there's Final Fantasy tunes in there, but, like, even despite all that. Very good stuff.
I suspect that if Eric had just
And Scythe 2. We'll see about this.
looted other games like he did in 05, it would have made great leaps in the MIDI department. I only bring this up because Scythe X's visual uniformity makes individual maps hard for me to remember, and a stronger soundtrack might have changed that. Just
True.
my man's opinion. Grade B, difficulty D. Map 5, Long Range Teleport. It's Eric's custom to be hard on himself and his text files, but in this case I kind of agree with him. Long Range Teleport might be the lamest map in this release. It's a good idea, implemented without conviction. You have to pick between the rocket launcher and chain gun to tackle a Kako Cloudlet, a flock of lost souls, and 4 Mancubi.
I like
it's more
that.
scenario than episode.
It's like an option select. Which one do you want? Well, that's what he said, but, like, I like that. That's cool.
Bender. Wrapping up much too soon.
It's like a vending machine. Okay, let me say that again without my mouth full of meat. It's like a vending machine. I like it.
And wasting a ton of potential. For me, there's no debating the rocket launcher's superiority. Since you'll invariably have to run for shelter in this storage closet, you might as well take the crowd-clearing weapon 5. The chain gun stuns Mancubi effectively, and it's good for warding off lost souls, but it won't buy you space, it's inferior against the Kakos, and if you don't collect enough ammo for it, the Mancubi will probably checkmate you. For a more substantive and challenging take on the choose a weapon gimmick, see also Map 11 from Brian Knox's Unholy Realms. Grade B-, difficulty C. Map 6, New Arrivals. This peppy morsel of a map sets its action on a platform suspended in the vacuum of space. A vacuum soon to be filled with Kakos, imps, pinkies,
Dyson
and
vacuum?
zombies. It's pretty telling that getting 6 rockets here feels like too many. Scythe 2's second episode opener didn't go hard either, but at least it had a pulse. Again, New Arrivals suffers a bit from excessive polish, but it is photogenic, and the combat doesn't sacrifice bounce for accessibility. Grade B, difficulty D-. Map 7, Hydroponic.
I'm just taking a second to say that I finished my chicken wings, so... I was already paying attention to the episode, but now I can, like, fully, like... I was, like, 90% paying attention. Now I can, like, 100% full focus. I didn't miss anything.
Hydroponic research. Finally, the demons have a fighting chance.
Ooh.
Hydroponic research lacks the cute garden textures from Icarus Alien Vanguard, but it's rife with red-faced gardeners and angry tomatoes. Once you acquire the red key, bust into the control room and throw the switch, 8 Mancubi appear around the map, so put those rockets to good use. Since this is map 7 and Eric is ostensibly under contract to use tag 666, the final Fatso dying will lower bars, blocking your way to another slick bit of ductwork which deposits you by the blue key. The ensuing ambush is quite nasty if you don't know what's coming, but if you elbow past the Imp Paparazzi, ignore the Hell Knights, and kill the chain gunners, the cleanup is fairly routine.
It looks like a small-scale Vrak Megawad so far.
There's also a secret plasma rifle here which cancels the fight completely, provided you know to shoot this panel. It's not very intuitive, but Eric's never been a whiz at secret hiding. Scythe X needed a map with some meat on the bone, but a veggie burger brought to you by UAC Hydroponic Research is the next best thing. Grade A-, difficulty C+. Map 8, Solar Power. This clean and renewable map is probably the most combat-focused in the WAD. Solar Power.
It's the simplest fucking thing, and it always kills me.
8. Solar Power. This clean and renewable map is probably the most combat-focused in the WAD. Solar Power starts hot and almost maintains that searing intensity the whole way through. The dozen
Oh my god. Best... I said it before, I'll say it again. Best new running gag this season is adding the text of Doom Guy talking. So good.
Are the heaviest damage dealers among the non-humanoids. Try not to get burned by these 2 traps heavily zested with hit scanners. As per usual, this base isn't overflowing with medical supplies. Tread carefully past the blue door because Eric locks it behind you and gives you a tough decision to make. Take the Blur Sphere and struggle against the Imp, Hell Knight, and Mancubus barrage but save some damage from the gunners in the next room, or leave the power down and eat extra flak. Either way, you should probably spare the Mancubi for when the first Cyber Demon of Scythe X pops his head in. It's kind of uncomfortable to make them infight, but it's worth the ammo you'll save. With the extra munitions and a free health top-off in this terminal-activated secret cache, Cybe himself shouldn't pose much of a threat. Solar Power's economic construction, tactful doom cute, and sharp combat are hallmarks of what makes Eric Alm a mapper's mapper. Grade B+, difficulty B. Map 9, Holding Area. Scythe X's
What are they holding?
longest map is also one of its most pleasant, a low-caliber romp through yet another space base set to a vintage Stewboy tune. Holding Area is Eric's personal favorite in Scythe X, which is strange, because it seems to depart from the razor-edged efficiency of his first 8 maps. The combat is broken into small bites, leans a bit more on pre-placed foes than teleport traps this time, and still holds back on using half of Doom 2's monster roster. Hell Knights are the unexpected star of the show here, attacking in groups, tight hallways, and up close. Half of Scythe X's archviles live in this map, meaning 1, and a harmless one at that. Which still leaves hit scanners and Mancubi as the only units likely to do you in. It's impossible not to appreciate Eric's visual chops here, especially his lighting and tasteful mid-texture usage, but I'm right at the end of my tolerance for this aesthetic. Scythe 2 spoiled me, I suppose. Grade B+, difficulty C+.
Kinda guy, huh?
Map 10, The Encounter. Abbreviated
The encounter with what?
though it is, Scythe X does have a payoff, and I highly encourage folks who haven't finished it to skedaddle and do so before continuing with this video.
Well, alright, well, alright, I guess, I'm gonna forget all this anyway.
Timestamps on the screen, you know the drill.
Yep.
The Encounter is inevitably the most memorable map in this set. Its goosebump-riddled MIDI, stark lighting, and prominent Cyber Demon might lead you to assume that the title is referring to your showdown with the goat, but Eric makes an ass out of you and me when you step outside.
Alright. You think I didn't notice? You think I didn't notice that you...
Referring to your showdown with the goat, but Eric makes an ass out of you and me when you step outside.
Saying butt followed by ass? What the fuck? Oh my god, they're different!
What a reveal. The Dark Imps and unnamed Pain Elemental variants shoot ring-shaped projectiles that spawn green ghosts when they hit something. The ghosts can be killed
What the fuck? That's amazing!
a single bullet and shoot Hell Knight projectiles. I can't imagine the kind of shenanigans Eric could have gotten up to if he had more levels to work with these critters. The sad irony that Scythe X's final map excites me more than the 9 preceding it is something I'd like to explore a bit before we conclude. So grade A, difficulty B.
Dude, come on! Oh man, Scythe X won me over! Oh, come on! And that's all we have? Come on! That's so cool. You know what? I'm gonna go with what... I know he's gonna talk about it in a second. I'm probably gonna have more to add to it. Man! Yeah, John Romero came back. All those other people we mentioned came back. Insane Gazebo. And the Dario Casale, that's who it was. It wouldn't surprise me because there's been a lot of really good Doom coming out the last few years, and I think it's like in this new wave, I feel like I've seen more than a few like old mappers from like decades ago just coming back with all from seeing all this nostalgia being resurfaced and coming back to map, or just, not even map. Some of them map, some of them just play. Like, seeing all these old faces come back, it wouldn't surprise me if Eric Alm rolls back up and is like, hey, what's good? I'm gonna finish Scythe X. I would love to see that, man. That would be awesome. Eric, if you're watching this somehow, I ain't gonna force it. You do what you want to do.
Let's take this back to the classroom. Scythe X is
a double digression.
Probably the only unfinished Megawad that will ever appear on this show, which should put Eric Alm's significance to the Doom community in perspective and reflect how highly I hold him in esteem. It's hard to evaluate Scythe X against the first two in this series because the Scythe brand is all about presenting the player with a spectrum of difficulties and aesthetics, and Scythe X has neither of those things. Even judging it against its predecessor's first 10 maps leaves Scythe X the black sheep, besides being quite unfair to Scythes 1 and 2. It's hard to know what to make of this set, whether we ought to look at it as a self-contained entity with a cryptic ending, or a double amputee and a missed opportunity. For a taste of what might have been, consider this. According to DoomWiki, the dehacked file contains alterations to Commander Keen, the SS Trooper, and the Spider Demon, as follows. The Commander Keen is given 700 hit points, a melee scratch attack, and the same projectile attack as the Dark Imp. The Wolfenstein SS is given 850 hit points and fires a flurry of Mancubus fireballs, and the Spider Demon is turned into a flying monster that fires a Cyber Demon rocket.
The fucking propeller hats. I never had one of those. Those are so funny, man.
Fireballs, and the Spider Demon is turned into a flying monster that fires a Cyber Demon rocket. As you can see in this...
Also, I just want to point out, I don't want to understate this. I just want to talk about
the Wolfenstein SS is
awesome the editing was, having him walk off screen.
Given 850 hit points.
Like, you could have just slid him off screen, but no, you actually, like, timed it with his steps. That's good. That's actually really good. I like that. Good job. Well done, Payne.
Fireballs, and the Spider Demon is turned into a flying monster that fires a Cyber Demon rocket.
Fucking hat. Oh my god.
As you can see in this very unusual O of Destruction footage, the Arachnotron seems to have been merged with a tech pillar thing, to room for even more dehacked tomfoolery. Scythe 2 had just 2 custom monsters, and they showed up late, so it's hard to imagine just how different Scythe X's later levels would have looked with all these custom creations running amok. Unfortunately, all we can do is speculate. Frankly, I'm inclined to lament Scythe X's lack of versatility compared to what it seems to promise. On the visual front, it doesn't take long for Alm's swanky space bases to start feeling antiseptic, and I don't know if you noticed, but there were 0 revenants in this WAD. 0. I believe that's a first for me, and
oh my god. Yeah! The first in a Doom 2 WAD, anyway.
It's definitely a first for this show. There are also no Barons, no Arachnotrons, no Masterminds, and a grand total of 2 Archviles in the entirety of Scythe X. Alm entrusts his Mancubi, Cacos, Hell Knights, and Hit Scanners with a ton of responsibility, and surprisingly his combat still thrives. There's no doubt the Swedish master still had the magic touch when he hung up his mapping spurs, but by not finishing Scythe X, he may have given us an even greater gift. I don't think it's a radically optimistic point of view to see Scythe X's abridgment as a good thing. Look at what it's given us. The enduring mystery of what Scythe III might have looked like to inspire our imaginations, a bit of folklore to entertain newcomers with, the glimmer of hope that someday Eric might return to finish his work, a vacancy for other great Megawads to take its place. Look at what came after Scythe X. Resurgence, Valiant, Eve Eternity, Back to Saturn X, Ancient Aliens, Sunlust, Struggle Anti-Region Legacy, all of them carry Scythe's legacy forward. Pick up the torch that Eric left for us without having to fight for attention against his magnum opus. Eric's departure is a sadness, surely, but the man already gave us 2 classic Megawads to enjoy. I say let him ride off into the sunset. He deserves it. Anyway, that concludes my ramble.
I didn't say anything for the end of that because I was just so engrossed in what he was saying. But I very much agree. I would love to see what Eric Alm has to bring to the table as far as finishing up Scythe X goes. On the other hand, I don't actually know what happened surrounding his departure. What appeared to me was that he released the first 2 episodes to garner hype with the intention to develop another 4. But maybe he didn't mean to leave. He had to. Maybe something came up in his life or something that just made him kind of have to step away from gaming. You know, I think it'd be awesome if he finished Scythe X, but after how long it's been, who knows if he still has that mapping touch. It wouldn't surprise me if he does. I mean, he can't. I mean, fuck. He released Scythe 2 unfinished and came back and added the next 3 maps, and it still turned out fine. Granted, that wasn't after 15 years, you know, or however many years it was. I think as long as nobody clamors for him to come back, as long as no one's like begging him to come back or anything, or forcing him or whatever, if he comes back, great. If he doesn't come back, that's totally fine. But if he does decide to come back and finish Scythe X, consider that there is a timeline where he finishes it and it sucks, and then the memory we have of Scythe X is tarnished. Just stuff to consider. There's a lot of different topics of discussion with this, you know. That's interesting. That's interesting.
My final grade for the strangest entry in the Scythe series is a B+. Difficulty-wise, it's the easiest Scythe by a landslide, coming in at a breezy D+. Now for my Dean's List. Valedictorian, Map 10, The Encounter. Salutatorian, Map 7, Hydroponic Research. Class President, Map 8, Solar Power. And the dunce cap goes to Map 5, Long Range Teleport. Thank you very much for watching, and please feel free to share your thoughts in the WAD down below. I'd love to hear what you think, and I'll heart your comments to let you know I've read them. Now I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge my generous patrons.
That's
Aaron
us!
Allen, Agile Jackson.
Okay, let me see here. I've been watching a lot of Marvel movies. Is there a post-credit scene?
1289, Trilby Trillion, Turbine 2K5, Ultra. I appreciate you all very much.
You're welcome.
This is Mount Pain 27, and I'll see you in the next episode of Dean of Doom.
Bye! Hell yeah, dude. Awesome stuff. Very, very awesome stuff. It was a shorter episode. I was expecting it to go by kind of fast, or even not stick out as much as the recent episodes have. But I really gotta say, man, that digression with the encounter, and just the encounter in general, was so good. That's such a cool map. It's such a cool topic of discussion. It's awesome stuff, man. Fantastic episode as always. Alright. I gotta be gone in 20 minutes, so I'll see you all later. Good night, friends.